You think they care. You think they understand. But here's the truth. Not everyone deserves access to your story. We live in a world addicted to exposure. Oversharing isn't vulnerability. It's desperation dressed up as connection. And too often, we confuse being open with being wise. You think they care. You think they understand. But here's the truth. Not everyone deserves access to your story. We live in a world addicted to exposure. Social media, and often we get caught in this false belief that the more we share, the closer we become with others. But that's a myth, a dangerous one. Oversharing isn't vulnerability. It's an invitation to be misunderstood, misjudged, and sometimes manipulated. It's time we ask ourselves who we're sharing with and whether they truly deserve that part of us. The truth is that people don't always listen to understand. They listen to judge. When you open up to someone, you expect them to. Space for you. You expect empathy, support, or at the very least, a non-judgmental ear. But too often, people listen with their own filters, through the lens of their insecurities and their own biases. They don't hear your truth. They only hear what aligns with their narrative. They listen not to understand, but to find a way to fit your words into their world. And the problem with that is that your pain, your vulnerability, becomes reduced to something that fits their understanding. Or, worse, their agenda. It's not even always conscious. It's human nature to process the world through our own experiences. We all have our baggage, our assumptions, and our need to feel superior or in control. We share our struggles with others. We inadvertently give them the power to use those details against us, even if they don't mean to. Maybe they don't outright exploit our pain, but their judgments linger in their silence or in the way they twist our words to serve their own perspectives. They may compare your pain to theirs, belittle your struggles, or, in the worst case, gossip about your vulnerability to others. It's easy to forget that your truth, your rawness, becomes someone else's narrative, and they have the ability to shape it into something completely different from what it actually is. And here's the thing. This isn't just about personal boundaries. It's about when you overshare, you unknowingly hand over pieces of your emotional life to people who may not be equipped to handle it. Not everyone has the capacity to hold your truth with respect and care. And when they fail to do so, in your own psyche, you might find yourself feeling exposed, embarrassed, or even betrayed. You gave them the most intimate parts of you, and in return, they either misunderstood you or used your vulnerability to build themselves up. Now, let's talk about the deeper cost of oversharing. It can make you feel invisible. You might believe that by sharing your innermost thoughts, you'll finally be seen. But in reality, it can create a dangerous dynamic where you lose your sense of self. The more you give, the less you hold on to. Your identity becomes shaped by the responses of others, not by your own sense of who you are. The validation you seek through oversharing is fleeting. It's a temporary boost, like a sugar rush. Once the conversation ends, once the post is forgotten, you're left with the same void you were trying to fill in the first place. And worse, you've given pieces of yourself to people who might never truly see you for who you are. The cycle of oversharing can also perpetuate a culture of emotional depletion. Every time you share your deepest thoughts and feelings with someone who hasn't earned that trust, it becomes harder to recognize when you're truly being heard. And when your story is exposed to the wrong person, it can be twisted, misrepresented, and used against you in ways that deepen your hurt. Privacy allows you to protect yourself from that. It allows you to decide who is worthy of hearing your truth, and more importantly, who is capable of holding that truth with reverence and care. On the flip side, when we choose to share our lives too freely, we risk losing control over the narrative. Your life isn't meant to be a spectacle. It's meant to be a journey. And when you let others dictate how your story is told, you lose the sacredness of your own experience. You lose the ability to shape your own path. When we overshare with people who cannot provide this kind of support, we don't just walk away feeling misunderstood. We walk away feeling more isolated, as though our vulnerability was either ignored or invalidated. Another painful reality is that some people may use your struggles against you. It's not always intentional, but when we overshare with people who haven't earned the right to hear our truth, we give them the power to use our pain. Whether it's in the form of gossip, manipulation, or exploitation, our deepest vulnerabilities with the wrong people, we risk them turning our words into something we never intended them to be. When you reclaim your privacy, you reclaim your power, your sense of self, and your ability to heal in a way that's authentic and meaningful. We live in a world that thrives on constant connection. Social media, texting, and online platforms push us to share everything, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. But what if in our quest for connection, we've lost sight of something crucial? The need for validation from others isn't just unnecessary. This craving for external affirmation has become so ingrained in our society that we often feel compelled to share intimate details of our lives in order to be seen, heard, but no matter how many likes, comments, or shares we get, the validation from others will never truly fill the emptiness we feel inside. The truth is that when we rely on others to define our worth, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment and emotional exhaustion. Seeking external validation is exhausting, both mentally. We begin to tether our sense of self-worth to the reactions of others, which can create an unpredictable cycle of emotional highs and lows. When people respond positively, we feel on top of the world. But when they don't, we begin to question our value, wondering what's wrong with us. This dependency on others' opinions creates an unhealthy attachment to approval that drains our energy and damages our sense of self. Validation doesn't come from someone else's approval. It comes from within. And learning to affirm yourself, to recognize your worth independent of external opinions, is key to building emotional resilience and a stronger sense of self. The danger of relying on validation from others is that it sets you up for vulnerability in ways you might not even realize. Some people niche a need for validations of others, though, to being emotionally manipulated or taken advantage of. Some people knowingly use your need for validation to control or influence you. They may give you compliments or praise only to later demand something in return, whether it's loyalty, favors, or unquestioning support. When you seek approval from others, you're giving them power over your emotions. And the people who know how to exploit this vulnerability can take advantage of your need for validation. You become the source of your own self-affirmation, and that kind of inner strength is unshakable. Finally, when we constantly seek validation from others, we lose touch with the very essence of who we are. This can cause discomfort, making relationships feel transactional rather than truly supportive. Over time, the imbalance that oversharing creates can lead to resentment, exhaustion, or emotional burnout for both parties.